Hello, welcome back. Today, I feel like making some tandoori chicken curry. So that's what I'm going to do. Teaspoon of ground ginger. Teaspoon of ground turmeric. Teaspoon of cardamom. Teaspoon of cumin. Teaspoon of cayenne. Teaspoon of paprika. I prefer smoked paprika. You don't have to, but I think it tastes better. Teaspoon of salt. Once you got all that kind of hanging out, I'll just take a little spoon. I'll give it a little stir, just to incorporate everything with one another. When you're done mixing it together, it might be worth getting a little on a spoon or your finger, giving it a little taste, making sure the flavor profile is what you want out of it. You know, I usually like a little bit more smoked paprika and a touch more cayenne in mine, so that's probably what I'm going to do. So I like a little bit more spice in my curry. I've combined everything that I just mentioned, but I'm going to add a little bit more smoked paprika and a little bit more cayenne and then give it a taste and kind of see how I feel about that. There's no real right or wrong way. Whatever way you think tastes the best, that's the way I would go with. That's going to be what you enjoy eating. There we go. Once you get your seasoning ready, go ahead and set it off to the side. We're not going to need it for a minute. Grab yourself a nice mixing bowl, some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and I'll show you what we're going to do with that. I'm going to take these, cut off some of the fat, and I'm going to cube them in, I'd say, a centimeter, half a centimeter, little cubes. I like the boneless chicken thighs for this recipe. You could use chicken breast, use whatever you like. I like the dark meat. It seems to have a better flavor. I prefer it. It's a little bit cheaper. I'm just going to go in and get off some of these little hunks of fat. You can leave them on there. It's not a huge deal. I just like to trim them up, make them a little pretty, you know. Then take my chicken breast, cut off this little flappy-doo here, and just cut it into kind of what you'd imagine like a bite-sized piece would be. I guess it'd be how I'd explain it. They don't have to be perfect. It's all going to the same place. I'm not trying to serve this in a 4-star restaurant. I'm just trying to make a tasty dinner. Gonna make a bit of a mess, and that's alright. Just be sure to clean up your cutting board and everything else as soon as you're done with it, because you don't want that chicken juice to soak into it or cross-contaminate whatever it is that you're going to be cooking next. Be sure to change your gloves, wash your hands, usual. Nobody wants to get salmonella or food poisoning or any of that business. Alright. Now we've got some nice little chicken cubes. Alright, so you want to give your little chickeny boys some flavor. So I'm going to take half of the seasoning mix that we made earlier and add it in there. About like that. Nothing too crazy. Give that a little toss. Let all that get all over the chicken. The other half of that we're going to add to our curry later on, so that we can flavor the yogurt and the coconut milk and everything else. Give this a little toss. Make sure they all got a little flavor on them. We don't want to leave anybody out. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to stick it back in the fridge, let it hang out for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, nothing too crazy. Now I've got some garlic, about 3 cloves, and a pretty girthy shallot. I'm going to get all those minced up and ready to go. Now if you're not the best with a knife, you probably want to be a little careful in this next part, because it's really easy to get your fingers up underneath there and take the tip of your finger off. I've done it multiple times. I do my best not to do it, but accidents happen. It's no big deal. Just hope you don't hurt yourself too bad, and if you need to, maybe call somebody. This doesn't have to be perfect. Just want to give it a nice little bit. I'll probably do it. Nothing too crazy. Put that in a little dish I've got ready for it. Boom, just like that. Spill some on the counter. That's fine too. Do just about the same with the shallot. Just cut that tail off. I'd have been in here crying. Do the same thing with this guy. All I'm doing is giving it like just a light cut on that outside part, just to make this outer portion of skin a little bit easier to get off. If you tried hard enough, you could probably save that little bit, but I don't know that it would do you much good to. Just be spinning your wheels. Try to make little cuts down the edge. Dice that up. Nice, manageable size pieces. Ooh, my eyes are already watering. Put that in there. That's everything ready to go. We've got our seasoning that's left over, our garlic and shallots. Now we can move on to the actual assembling and cooking phase of the whole thing, which is probably my favorite part. Alright, so the chicken's been in the fridge about like 10 or 15 minutes. You can let it go longer if you want. It's not a huge deal. I don't know that it's going to make a whole lot of difference because the seasoning's not going to permeate the chicken unless you have some kind of brine or a marinade or something. So we're ready for final assembly. I have a chili pot that I'm a big fan of for this. You don't need a chili pot. You can use a regular saucepan or a saute pan or any kind of pot you have around. I just like the way that this is. I don't know that it makes a difference. I just like using this one because it doesn't get a lot of love. And this is one dish where I feel like I can let it kind of shine. So I'm going to turn the oven to about medium heat. I'm going to add my favorite ingredient, bacon grease. Anytime I cook bacon, I like to save the grease because it works well with cooking. It's got a high flash point, so you don't have to worry about burning it like you do butter. You can use butter if you like. Use about, I don't know, tablespoon and a half of bacon grease for this, and just get that up to a decent heat. I've got it on a medium heat. The bacon grease is liquid again now. I'm going to take just a little bit of cumin seed, and in the spot that doesn't have any grease, I'm just going to put in like half a teaspoon or so and kind of let those toast on the pan. So I can tell my cumin seed is nice and toasty, it's warm, it's tasting good because I can smell it above the pot. And once I get to that stage, I'm going to go ahead and take all of my shallot and onion, or garlic, all my shallot and garlic. I'm going to pop it on in there. I'm going to give it a nice little saute. Get it all incorporated with that grease. Let it start going a little bit. What I'm looking for is the shallots to kind of turn opaque and the onion or the garlic to kind of start to brown just a little bit. I don't know why I keep saying onion instead of garlic. not going to fiddle with it too much. I'm just going to let it do its thing. So my garlic and my shallot are starting to brown a little bit. They're starting to make really tasty friends in there. I'm going to add my chicken and give that a little bit of a sear to get it mostly cooked through before I start adding the rest of my ingredients. Just gonna mix the garlic and the shallot in there with it. Just let it brown. Now there's moisture kind of cooking out of the chicken. You can see it's starting to steam. There's little bubbles on the bottom. I know the chicken's probably close to about halfway done, maybe a little over. When it starts to do that, turn it a couple more times, and it's time to add the rest of the ingredients. So, the chicken is pretty well cooked through. I'm going to go ahead and add my coconut milk. I'm using coconut cream. You can use coconut milk, doesn't matter. I'm just going to add the whole can in there. And I'm going to let that come up to temperature. Because I'm going to add the yogurt after this in portions. And I don't want this to go down to a really cold temperature and like restart the whole cooking process. I'm just going to gradually add the yogurt and get it to a simmer. It's starting to bubble and pop and getting close to a simmer. I'm going to go ahead and add half my thing of yogurt. I like to use goat's milk yogurt. I think it gives it a more earthy taste. You don't have to. You can use Greek yogurt or just regular old yogurt. Anything will work. I just prefer the flavor of goat's milk yogurt for this dish. A little stir in, hope it incorporate. It's already starting to smell pretty good. Let that come back up to a light simmer, and I'll add the other half of the yogurt. I can see it's starting to bubble and like kind of pop. It's getting close to a simmer, so I'm going to go ahead and add the other half of my yogurt. To get all that yogurty goodness out of there. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of that seasoning we saved from earlier, just right over the top. And 2 bay leaves. Give that a little mix in, being careful not to run it over the side of the pot. And then what we're going to do is bring this back up to a simmer, cover it, and reduce the heat by about half or more, so it just stays at like a nice little simmer for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much time you have, and let all those flavors cook into the chicken and all the seasoning kind of incorporate with the dairy, coconut milk, and everything else. And after that, we can put it over some rice or eat it with some naan bread or however you feel. So it's starting to get like little bubbles on the top, little pops, little movement in there. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it, reduce the heat down to, I don't know, about halfway to where it was before, somewhere in there. And I'm just going to let it do its thing for the next probably 45 minutes to an hour myself. You can 30 minutes is about all you need. And I'll come back every 10 or 15 minutes and just give it a little stir and check on it, make sure it's not boiling too much or too little. You just want a nice small simmer going on. I'll see you then. Alrighty, it's time for the big reveal. Now this has been in here for, I'd say probably about an hour, maybe a little more. It's gotten pretty well done. As it reduces down, it starts to want to simmer more vigorously, and all you got to do is just turn the heat down just a little bit to prevent it from doing that. It's not super crazy, but you have a nice little thing going on here. As I like to say, if it's bad for the heart, it's good for the soul.